And the first parameter you separate with a question mark, so food is equal to, and now in order to append strings in JavaScript, you just use plus food. And the last parameter is basically this. All right, so let me go ahead and talk you through this. So this is basically what we're sending to the PHP file. So first parameter is what type of request, get. The second parameter is, okay, you said you're going to send get, now give me the URL pretty much. Now the third parameter is just go ahead and type true for now. Now, I don't even know if I want to talk to you guys about this. Basically, the last parameter, true or false, is if the request should be handled asynchronously or not. False if not, true if it is. And if you guys are like, all right, this is AJAX, asynchronous Java in XML, why would you ever want this false? Well, we'll talk about that later on. Basically, for this tutorial, just write true. If not, then it would be a waste of time. But let me just go ahead and format this a little bit prettier. All right, so what does the open method do, or function? It basically creates the type of request that we want. So now that we have the request, are we ready to send it? Well, not yet. What we want to do is we want to set this XML. I wish that stuff popped up on ready state change. Now go ahead and set this equal to handle server response. Alright, now before we just go ahead and send this request to the server, we need to go ahead and say, okay, whenever we get information back, we want to do something with that information. If we just go ahead and made this JavaScript file to send a request to the server, and the server would, send a response back, what would happen is the user would be right here using the website, and your JavaScript file would be communicating with your server behind the scenes, but when it got the response back, it wouldn't do anything with it. So basically, the user would be, here typing stuff, and your computer would be talking to another computer behind the scenes, and it wouldn't even be doing anything. So it'd be like you did all the hard work, but nothing's paying off. So what we're doing right here is we're saying, okay, oops, messed that up. We're saying, okay, on ready state change, which basically means we want to call this function handle server response whenever the server responds to our request. So we're going to send it this request, and whenever it responds, we want to do something to our web file. So basically, what process is going to do is it's going to communicate with the web server, and what this function is going to do is it's going to do something cool to the user's web page. So that's the three functions you basically need. One creates the object for communication. The second one communicates with the server. And the third one that we're going to be building in a little bit, that's what's going to, either update your web page or create an element or do something cool. And that's basically the three parts of AJAX that you always need. Alright, so now that we got that out of the way, what we need to do after this is actually send the request. Because, think about it, we didn't actually send the request yet. We made the request, and we said, once we get a response back, this is what we want to do. But even though we made the request, we have to send that. I know it's kind of stupid, but that's what you need to do. So, go ahead and use this object, and can you guess the function to send the request? You just go ahead and write send. And in here, just go ahead and type null. Now I know what you're thinking. You're like, all right, why would you type null there? Wouldn't you, want, the request itself? You're sending nothing. Well, actually, this is one of the confusing parts, so let me explain it. Whenever you send the request off to the server, the parameter that you use is only used with post. Now, we're using get right here, so that's why it needs to be null. So remember, if you're using post, then this is going to be, this parameter is not going to be null, and I'll talk about that later on. But for now, just go ahead and set it equal to null, and that's what we need to do. Alright, else, go ahead and set timeout, and I'll talk to you guys about this in a second. Set timeout, process, and we'll just go ahead and set this equal to 1000 is actually good enough. Alright, so why do I need an else, and what does set timeout do? Set timeout pretty much Okay, I guess I'll explain it this way. The first thing you're doing is you're checking, is the object ready to connect or is it busy? If it's ready to connect and ready to communicate, then you do all this stuff. However, if it's busy, then what you're going to do is you're going to say, okay, I'm just going to wait. I'm just going to time out for 1 second and then I'm going to try again. So set timeout says, okay, how long do you want to wait? And after you're done waiting, what do you want to do? So pretty much, okay, I want to communicate, communicate, communicate. However, if it's busy, then I'm just going to go ahead and wait again. Wait a second and then communicate again. So that's basically what the function does. And remember, this is the heart of being able to communicate with a server using AJAX. The first thing you do is you need to check if your object is ready to communicate. Next, well, you don't need to do this, but it's really helpful to get a piece of information from the web page. And after that, you want to go ahead and prepare your request. And after that, you want to go ahead and say, okay, whenever I get a response back from the server, this is what I want to do. And we're actually going to be coding this in the next tutorial. And then you go ahead and send your request. Now, if you can't send that, then just wait a second and then send it again. So, in the next tutorial, I promise it's going to be, we're going to be finishing up. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial.